Behind me, evidence of the so-called big friendly giant has been found. There is a giant footprint in the sandbank.
Research crews from all over the world have been reporting pale, enormous shapes beneath the surface of the Antarctic Ocean for decades. They say it is 100 feet long, and it moves against the current, with a direction of its own. But that is not even the strangest part. The most unsettling thing is that experienced professionals, the people who make their living knowing exactly what they're looking at in the water, have all described the same thing. The Japanese sailors who first reported these sightings gave the mysterious creature a name, Ningen, which simply means human. But so far, nobody has ever found a photograph or any evidence proving this creature exists. So what is this Ningen creature? And why has the same description been repeated in witness accounts spanning more than 30 years from around the world? Let's get into it. The loneliest sea. To understand what the Ningen is, you need to know where it comes from. The Atlantic Ocean, or as it is officially called, the Southern Ocean, is geographically unlike any other body of water on Earth. It encircles Antarctica at the bottom of the globe, a continuous belt of open water with no land. That uninterrupted stretch is a distance over which wind can act on water without any problems. It allows waves to build continuously over thousands of miles before they arrive anywhere. Waves of 15 to 20 feet are not unusual here. The worst of the storms last not hours but days, and that number can climb even higher. The water is dense, dark, and shockingly cold. It presses down into some of the deepest basins in the southern hemisphere. There are trenches and plains that almost no instrument has properly surveyed. A 2025 study was published in the journal Science Advances by researchers from the Ocean Discovery League. The finding was that in 70 years of deep-sea exploration, humans have visually observed less than 0.001% of the deep-sea floor. If the ocean floor were a feature film, everything we have ever visually confirmed would be less than 3 seconds of footage. Earth is a planet where the ocean covers 66% of its surface. And we have looked at almost none of it. Moreover, as far as the Southern Ocean is concerned, we practically know nothing of it. For most of human history, only specific categories of working crews have ever spent time there at all. People such as whalers, seal hunters, ice survey teams, fisheries observers, and scientific research vessels operating on long contracts. There is no tourism, no casual traffic, no one just passing through. That absence is important, and as we go through this video, you will find out why. Sailors who have spent long deployments in these waters describe the silence on calm nights in a way that stays with you. No traffic, no distant lights, no aircraft. A person standing at the rail can hear their own pulse. And in that kind of silence, in that quality of dark, when something rises slowly in the water below you, the mind has nowhere to put it. In such situations, the human mind is known for making mistakes in perception. Some of the most common ones are seeing faces and bodies in random shapes. Psychologists call this cognitive pareidolia. That could be why sailors explain seeing a Ningen or human. And that specific name is the reason that this legend is so unsettling. The name itself. The word Ningen is Japanese. It does not mean beast. It does not mean leviathan, sea monster, or any of the old names sailors have for describing things that frightened them. Ningen means human being. Think about what it means that the crews who saw this thing reached for that word before any other. They were standing on the deck of a working vessel in the most remote waters on Earth. These are experienced professionals. They had spent years learning exactly what every animal in these waters looks like. They had a full vocabulary for the ocean and everything in it. And when they tried to describe what they had seen, the word they reached for was human being. And once you call something a human being, you have already told the whole story. You have planted an image that no other explanation ever fully pulls back. You can be told it was ice. You can be told it was a trick of the light and a tired brain. But some quiet part of you will still picture a face. That is what the name human does. There is a proper academic study published on this legend in the journal Shima in 2020 by researchers Greenland and Hayward. They propose that Ningen is specifically a Japanese creature story. It is born from the very particular experience of Japanese research crews. They spend long seasons in an ocean far from home, in waters that had always been associated with Japan's southern whaling fleet. The legend didn't emerge from a sailor's fear of the sea. It emerged from a community's experience of a very strange place. That is the origin of the name Ningen. What makes these legends more than just stories and folk tales is the witnesses. All of these accounts trace back to research and survey crews, scientists who have spent their lives studying the sea. And that is what makes these accounts so hard to dismiss. The witnesses. These are not tourists. These are men who know the Southern Ocean the way a city person knows their neighborhood. Whale researchers spend their lives watching the ocean. They can spot the difference in whale spout or spray torn off the top of a swell from half a mile away. They don't have to think about it. They know. The same man can look at wave spacing and tell you what the weather is doing in 6 hours. And he'll be right. His entire professional value depends on it. These are people trained specifically to look at the ocean accurately and report what is there. All of that to make sure you understand the importance of the witness accounts describing the Ningen, and why the witness accounts are so compelling. The accounts all begin the same way. A crewman at the rail notices a pale, white patch in the water. His first thought is that it's ice. Of course, it's ice. It's the most common white thing in the Antarctic Ocean. He barely registers it at first and moves on to complete other tasks. Then he looks back, and the ice has changed position. Not drifted or bobbed on a swell in the water. Physically moved and traveled across his field of view. And worse than that, it is moving against the current. Holding a course. Ice has no will. Ice goes where the water and the wind take it. It does not choose a direction and keep it. It does not push against the current around it. But this pale shape, whatever it was, held its line. Then comes the detail that gives these accounts their stubborn weight. The man at the rail does not stay quiet. He does not notice it and looks away, hoping it goes. He calls out to the nearest crewman. He says, "Look at that! What is that?" A second man comes to the rail, sometimes even a third, and they stand there together, shoulder to shoulder in the brutal cold, watching the same pale form glide slowly past the hull. Multiple witnesses, awake and sober. All of them are professionals looking at the same patch of water at the same moment. That is harder to dismiss than one man's bad night. They all describe the same thing, and the shape they agree on is the part that crawls under the skin and stays. Witnesses describe. A shape can be rationalized. A pale mass in dark water can be explained a dozen ways. What the witnesses describe is hard to put away. The shape is not random. It has parts. At the top, a bulk. A mass that sits the way a head and shoulders sit, rounded at the crown, broadening below. Exactly like the silhouette you see when a person stands with their back to you in dim light. Below that rounded mass, long pale appendages, almost like limbs, trail down and out into the dark water. The thing is enormous. Witnesses put its length at between 20 and 30 meters, longer than most of the ships they are standing on. Some witnesses, the ones who got the longest look, describe those appendages ending in something that does most of the damage: a hand. 5 digits are spread in the water, and in the most chilling accounts, that hand is not still. It opens and it closes, slowly, the way a person flexes a stiff hand in the cold. The witness accounts split on what comes below the torso. Some witnesses describe 2 legs, long and pale, kicking slowly the way a swimmer kicks when barely moving. A full human silhouette scaled up to the length of a freighter. And in the rarest accounts, from the witnesses who got closest, who say they saw the front of the thing, a face, eyes set forward, both facing the same direction, the way a human's eyes face. And in the most extreme of those tellings, the eyes did not stare blankly at the sea. They turned. They found the people at the rail. And for one long, frozen moment, the thing in the water looked directly at them. Those are the accounts. But before you decide what to do with them, you need to know where they came from. Where it actually came from. Here is the part the legend prefers to skip, and it might be the most important part of the entire case. The Ningen did not arrive through a logbook. It arrived through a screen. The earliest traced account appears in May 2002 on the Japanese anonymous message board 2channel. Someone claimed second-hand knowledge of something Japanese whaling crews had supposedly witnessed. According to the message, they had been told to stay quiet about it. By 2007, the story had been picked up by Moo, Japan's premier paranormal magazine. The magazine connected the creature to an alleged 1958 sighting by the crew of the research vessel Soya Maru. It also showed a grainy Google Earth image showing a white shape off the coast of Namibia. Academic researchers Greenland and Hayward, in their 2020 Shima Journal study, trace this carefully. The Ningen, they conclude, is a piece of media lore. A creature assembled through successive online retellings, each adding a detail and stripping a little of the original content. The first anonymous post already contained the essential ingredients: a remote location, a potential government cover-up, and an unsettling description of an unknown creature. Each retelling after that expanded the size, sharpened the hand, and clarified the eyes. The descriptions converged because the story was circulating, and people were reading it before they reported their own encounters. According to the study, this is how modern folklore is made. It is the same mechanism that produced Slender Man in Western internet culture in 2009. It started as an anonymous creative writing exercise. Within years, Slender Man had become a creature that thousands of people sincerely believed in. They even had alleged photographs and supposed sightings from people who had never read the original post. What the study concludes is that the creature already existed in the culture before anyone saw it. Anyone who saw something strange in the water was looking for it and already had a name for it. But here's the thing that this theory does not explain. The 1958 Soya Maru account that Moo magazine connected to the legend predates the internet entirely. Whatever the crew of that Japanese research vessel reported in the Southern Ocean in 1958 was not shaped by a 2002 forum post. Something was in those waters that winter that warranted recording. We do not know what it was, and that single loose thread is why the case is still alive today. The case for the unknown. Their strongest argument for the Ningen is consistency. The accounts come from different ships, different nationalities, and different times. The witnesses have no connection to each other, yet they describe the same formation. If this were nothing but paranoia, why does the imagination keep building the same image? But the shape that keeps coming back is the human shape. That consistency is interesting. Their second argument is the ocean itself. And this one is genuinely difficult to dismiss. In 2025, the Ocean Discovery League published a study in the journal Science Advances. It confirmed that in 70 years of deep-sea exploration, humans have surveyed less than 0.001% of the deep-sea floor. History has already shown us that large animals exist in the Southern Ocean, animals that we thought were nothing but a folk tale. For example, the giant squid was considered a sailor's story for centuries. No scientist had ever seen one, and so no credibility was given to the story. Then, in 2004, a Japanese team captured the first photographs of a living specimen. In 2025, researchers filming in the deep Southern Ocean captured the first footage of a living colossal squid. An animal potentially larger than the giant squid, filmed in its actual habitat for the first time in history. It had been known to exist for decades, only through specimens recovered from the stomachs of sperm whales. The ocean was hiding something that large, and scientists didn't see it until last year. New whale species have been discovered in the past decade. Deep-sea sharks that produce their own bioluminescence were confirmed only in 2021. The more researchers look, the more they find. To say the Southern Ocean could hide something large is plain common sense. But could hide is not the same as does hide. And the gap between those two phrases is exactly where the legend of the Ningen stands. The honest verdict, the most likely explanation for what those crews saw, is sculptural ice. Icebergs in the Southern Ocean are not simple blocks. Wind, wave action, and differential melting carve them into extraordinary shapes. In poor light, they can resemble almost any silhouette that the mind is looking for. The human brain is also notoriously good at finding human shapes in ambiguous visual information. Psychologists call this pareidolia, the cognitive tendency to impose familiar patterns. Particularly, faces and bodies are projected onto random stimuli. It is not a sign of weakness or delusion. It is a feature of human perception, probably an evolutionary adaptation. In conditions of low light, exhaustion, and extreme cold, with a story already in circulation, that tendency becomes very powerful. The movement against the current has a straightforward explanation. Ice in the Southern Ocean does not always drift passively. Subsurface currents can move large objects at the surface against the apparent surface flow. An iceberg with a large mass below the waterline is being acted on by different water than what's visible above it. The effect can look, from a ship's deck, exactly like deliberate movement. The hand that opens and closes, the eyes that turn. These are the details that stay in the mind. They are also the details that appear most prominently only in the later retellings, after the story had been circulating for years on the internet. The earliest accounts do not consistently include them. They were added over time, the way all legends add their sharpest images. The natural human tendency to reach for the most striking version of a story, until the version that survives is the one that leaves the most lasting impact. The Ningen is almost certainly not a creature. It is something more interesting and more human than that. It is what happens when extreme isolation, an extraordinary environment, and a single disturbing story combine with the most powerful pattern recognition system on Earth. That suspicion is why the legend survives every rational explanation. Not because the explanations are wrong, but because the question underneath them never goes away. We know so little of the deep ocean floor. We are still discovering animals the size of school buses in waters we thought we knew. And in the loneliest, darkest, most unvisited sea on the planet, a person standing at the rail is left with exactly the same thought that has kept this story alive for over 20 years. We don't actually know what's down there. The deep sea floor is, by the best scientific estimate, more than 99.9% unobserved. Every time we uncover new species, it is a stark reminder of just how little we know about the sea, even though it covers more than 2/3 of the Earth. So after hearing the full story, the consistency of the descriptions, the vastness of the unmapped ocean, and the simple human fact of cognitive bias doing exactly what it was built to do, what do you actually believe is down there at the bottom of the ocean? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next mystery we dig into. We'll see you in the next one.